Everybody good? I'd like to call the Board of Education to order. Public notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act has been given by the Board Secretary on August 5, 2025 in the following manner. Posted notice on the school bulletin board at the administration building, transmitted to the Courier Post, Philadelphia Inquirer, and Clerk of Cherry Hill Township. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Augustine, will you please call the roll?
Dr. Braddock?
Here.
Ms. Sherfane? Here. Dr. Dreisen?
Here.
Mrs. Gallagher?
Here.
Mr. Greenbaum?
Here.
Mr. Mayor?
Here.
Ms. Palmer?
Here.
Ms. Stern? Here. And Mrs. Winters?
Here. Thank you so much. We have no board recognition this evening. We do have one presentation. It's the NJGPA presentation. I see Ms. Holmgren is here with us tonight. Good evening. My name is Faith Holmgren, and I am the District Testing Coordinator. Tonight, I will present the results from Spring 2025 New Jersey Graduation Proficiency Assessment, otherwise known as NJGPA. The Spring 2025 results I'm presenting are compared to the results from Spring 2024 and Spring 2023. New Jersey state statute requires the NJGPA to be administered to all grade 11 students. It is designed to measure the extent to which students are graduation ready in ELA and mathematics. The ELA component of the assessment is aligned to grade 10 New Jersey Student Learning Standards for ELA and the math component is aligned to Algebra 1 and geometry standards. The proficiency cut score for ELA and math is 725. Students who take but do not meet the minimum cut score have a few ways in which they can meet the graduation assessment requirement. They may retake the ELA and/or math component this coming fall. They may meet the designated cut score from the menu of substitute competency tests, or they may complete a portfolio appeal. We will begin looking at the data that compares our district performance to students from across the entire state in 2023, 2024, and 2025 for both ELA and mathematics. You will notice there are only two categories the students can fall into: graduation ready and not graduation ready. For spring 2025, NJGPA ELA, 90.3% of our students are graduation ready, comparable to the state, which is 80.7%. 9.7% of our students were considered not graduation ready for 2025 in ELA, comparable to the state, which is 19.3%. For mathematics in spring 2025, 69.4% of our students are considered graduation ready, comparable to the state at 58%. And 36% of our students fall into the not graduation ready category for spring 2025, comparable to the state, which is 42%. For both ELA and mathematics, we are performing above the state average, and this is the trend that we want to continue to see. A slight delay here. On the next two slides, we will break the data down by both high schools for each content area. For spring 2025 at East for ELA, 92.3% of our students are considered graduation ready, compared to 93.4% in 2024. I want to note, even though it seems our percentage of students who are graduation ready for ELA decreased at East in 2025, there was an increase in the number of students who took the assessment and are graduation ready. For reference, in 2025 at East, 503 students were graduation ready for ELA, but in 2024, 470 students were graduation ready. At West, 87% of our students are considered graduation ready in 2025, compared to 87.3% in 2024. At West, we had a decrease in the number of students who took the assessment. 281 students are considered graduation ready for ELA in 2025, compared to 290 in 24. So as you can see, we saw an increase in the number of students assessed at East, almost 100 students more from 2023 to 2025, and a decrease in the number of students, almost 100 less from 23 to 25 who were assessed at West. Moving on to the mathematics results by school. At East, 77.9% of our students are considered graduation ready, which is an increase in percentage over the previous 2 years and trending in the absolute right direction. And at High School West, 55.1% are considered graduation ready, which is also on the upward trend from 50.3% in spring 2024. We have reviewed the comparison of how the district performed to the state so far. Now, on the next two slides, you can find the comparison between each high school and the district as a whole. Here we start with East. We want to continue to see the increase in students who are graduation ready in ELA and mathematics, as we have here, as you can see, in spring of 2025. And here is that same data for West, comparing West to the district as a whole. Here we saw an increase in the percentage as well as the actual number of students who are graduation ready in mathematics. We will now move on to the portion of the presentation that provides you with the NJ-GPA data by subgroup. Please note that the blue bar represents 2023, orange representing 2024, and the gray bar representing 2025. Here you can find the subgroup data for race and ethnicity for ELA. The bar graph displayed at the far right of this chart indicates all students, so you are able to see how these subgroups performed comparable to all students. I would like to draw your attention to our Hispanic Latino subgroup. There was a 10% increase for this subgroup for those who are considered graduation ready. Again, this is the trend we want to continue to see. Followed by the data for those same subgroups, but for mathematics, again, comparing 25 to 24 and 23. Here, I would like to highlight the subgroup, which includes 2 or more races, of which we saw an 8% increase from 2023. The next two slides provide us with the data for the following subgroups: students with disabilities, English language learners, and economically disadvantaged. Here you can find the data for ELA. We saw an increase in graduation readiness for students with disabilities and students with disabilities no IEP. And here is that data for those same subgroups for mathematics. We saw an increase in percentage of students who are graduation ready in the following subgroups: students with disabilities no IEP and our multilingual learners. As we started to unpack the spring 2025 NJ-GPA data, a question arose around how many students were within a close score of passing this assessment, often referred to as students who performed on the bubble. We dove in and found some very interesting data, which we will share over the next few slides. Here you can find this bubble data for the district as a whole for ELA and mathematics. Keep in mind that the passing score for both content areas is 725. For ELA as a district in 2025, 33 students performed within the 712 to 724 range. And for math, we have 115 students who performed within the 712 to 724 range. And within that group, 22 of those students scored a 724. Here you can find the bubble data for East for both ELA and math. For ELA, there were 16 students who performed within the 712 to 724 range. And for math, 61 students performed within that 712 to 724 range, with 12 of them scoring either a 723 or 724. And the bubble data for West. 17 students fell into the 712 to 724 range for ELA, while 54 students fell into that range for mathematics, 10 of those scoring a 724. After reviewing all of the data, we wanted to highlight a few notable achievements. For ELA, the district average for students who are graduation ready is above the state average. Students who fall into our economically disadvantaged subgroup and are graduation ready are performing within 2% of the state average. And we saw an increase in 9.4% for our Hispanic students in the graduation ready category. For mathematics, the district average for students who are graduation ready is above the state average, and we saw an increase in 12.7% for our Hispanic students who are graduation ready. Moving into the final portion of tonight's presentation, we will provide you with ways we are using this actual data to provide interventions. Here you can find intervention strategies that will be in place for 25-26 school year for ELA. We will use the NJGPA data to isolate specific standards that our students did not perform well on and that we need to improve upon. We will use our district instructional coaches to meet with PLC groups and individual teachers to provide strategies for instruction. The Office of Research and Assessment will support schools with data analysis and standards articulation. An example of this are data summits, which will begin early in the school year. And for mathematics, we are continuing professional development presented by the folks at Great Minds for both our teachers and administrators. Similarly to what I mentioned for ELA, we will also use targeted interventions for our students based upon this data. We also will be working with staff to utilize the lesson vernacular or language that is used within Eureka, so math teachers are speaking the same instructional language. And finally, the curriculum supervisors and math coaches will support data analysis during meetings with teachers. We are also implementing a multi-tiered system of supports that we refer to as MTSS, which will help us to identify specific needs and ongoing mathematics interventions for students in grades 9 through 11 that we identify using both in-house data as well as this NJGPA data. This concludes our spring 2025 NJGPA results presentations. Questions?
Thank you, Ms. Holmgren. We really appreciate it. Do board members have any questions around this data? Dr. Braddock?
Maybe just a comment because I couldn't help myself. I was running numbers on the percent changes while you were speaking. The thing I'm really heartened by in seeing this is really the comparison to the rest of the state. I know you're a little concerned about drops in some proficiency in some of the categories, but in just crunching the numbers a little bit, those declines with the number of people that were tested were small enough that it might just be random chance that they dropped. It's not necessarily a decrease in performance or a decrease in any kind of teaching capability. So I'll be really curious to see where it goes next year and the year after that as well, to see how the trend continues. But I guess this is just more of really just a kudo to say that the fact that the scores are so high relative to the rest of the state and that the declines you see are so small. I'm not minimizing that, but I'm heartened overall by all of it.
Other board member questions? Ms. Stern?
I think overall pleased to see, we're generally moving in the right direction. Very pleased to see some of our special student populations, some who, we've struggled with to figure out how to help them be more successful academically, to see them doing so well. It's really exciting. The one group I wanted to understand a little bit more about were the multi-language learners. In terms of the ELA, there's definitely a noticeable drop off. And I'm wondering, in the past, sometimes it's because the numbers are small, but I don't know that that's the case because they're a growing group in our district. So just wondering if you have a sense of that.
I don't necessarily have a sense of it, but it is something that we are looking into, and I will be reporting the access results, which is a standardized assessment that our multilingual learners take each year as well. I will be presenting that in September, so that will give us more insight into what we are seeing as far as that subgroup is concerned.
Thank you. one thing that was struck me about that as well, just as a quick follow-up, is the conversations with several years ago when we met with Latinx families, and the conversation about how important English language understanding is in taking mathematics tests. And it's interesting to see the mathematics scores higher and in gaining there with that group, and yet the language score is lower. So it's like really a little bit confounding to me. So as we understand it more, that'd be helpful. Thank you.
Other board member questions? Ms. Gallagher?
So looking at slide number 3, the last bullet point says math component is aligned with NJSLS Mathematics Algebra 1 and Geometry Standards. And I have 2 questions. I'll ask them both and then it'll just be easier. So what's the average grade for students to take those subjects? Because I know like math is tier, like there's like a lot of math options, right? And then what is the latest students would take those classes?
Pass that over to our curriculum folks.
Okay, I think okay. So Algebra 1 can start as early as 7th grade. And there can be sophomores that struggle mathematically. That could also be in an Algebra 1 class. Geometry can be taken as early as 8th grade. And then it can follow sequentially. You have 9th graders or even 10th graders who could take geometry.
And then this test is given at the end of 11th grade? Okay, thank you.
Dr. Dreisen?
Great. Thank you again. Great presentation. We had a chance to discuss this in more detail in CNI. I just want to comment, I guess, Dr. Braddock, I would personally reframe what you said. I think there is a lot of, demonstration of improvement in it. And I really like the notable achievement slide. One recommendation I made in CNI was that we also, I know there's a template for these slides, but maybe add a slide just summarizing opportunities for improvement to focus on where, to then drill in on where these intervention strategies are focused, but to summarize in terms of transparency where the opportunities are. And from a state perspective, you'll notice actually at West, math is below the state average right now. And so I think just acknowledging that, but a lot of improvements being made. What I think we noted in CNI, just to call attention to the full board, is the bubble data that you presented. And actually, if we took all of that bubble data at West in math and just got it up to 725, we'd be well over the state average. So a lot of great work is being done, but just to keep the eyes on the prize and recognize that there is, I think, still improvement that can be made specifically at West in math.
Mr. Mayor?
Thanks for the presentation. Let me start with something I probably said last year as well, which was that while it's always good to see that our students are performing above the state average, at least for me, that that's really shouldn't be the benchmark. Well, it is, but for me, I prefer that we look at it as, of course, our students are going to perform that way. We expect that. I know I've always expected that. I certainly believe teaching staff expects that, but hopefully the goal is always going to be higher, always to be improved, and let's get that gap even wider. Focusing more on these bubble students is a great way to do that, without losing sight of the fact that on the other side of the bubble, there are students that just barely achieved it, right? They could also slip down, so let's not lose sight of that as well. The only other comment that I'd make again is probably mimicking what I've said in the past, which is I know that there are few things that we as a district can do to directly impact certain segments of the population that socioeconomically may not be in a position to achieve the way other students are, and hopefully we continue as a district to find ways to achieve better success with those groups with different interventions as well, because of course what works for one student and one population is not going to work for all. But I thank you and always have for keeping those things in mind. I just want to continue that conversation, and it should never be lost, because it's not lost on me. And great work. but greater work still to come. Thanks.
Ms. Gallagher.
Realized I had another question. So looking at slides 12 and 13 for the multi-language learners as well. The numbers between 2023 and 2024, and then also this past year, are like, there's a significant difference. Like, so if you see like 2023, 14.3% were graduation ready, and then the next year, 2024, it was 57.9. Similarly with the math, it was a 10-point difference. Was there a change in like curriculum within that time that could indicate like that's a significant it's a very significant increase? So I'm curious. And it's pretty much stayed. That's what, so I'm just curious why, if there was something that happened within the curriculum that, you know, clearly was benefiting these students.
So when we look at the multilingual language learners, that is a population of students that's always in flux, right? So students are testing out, students are coming into district, they're coming in. So it's really difficult to really look at cohort to cohort. We are looking at, so when Mrs. Holmgren does the presentation on access, that's really the true tell on how our multi-language learners are really progressing into, you know, not only standardized testing, but also acquiring language and fluency. So it would be really difficult for us to say last year's population that tested looks very different than the year before, and even as well as who's sitting in those seats this year.
Ms. Gallagher, can I also add in? I think that what you are seeing in the scores is really a testament to our ESL department and the work under the direction of Violetta Katsikis as a curriculum supervisor. That department has doubled in the last 5 years the number of students that we serve and the amount of staff that we have in the department. It is a comprehensive department. They have intensive professional development. They are recognized leaders across the state in supporting multilingual learners. And they have worked diligently over the past 5 or 6 years to ensure that language acquisition is at the forefront. Some of those changes included the multilingual learners teachers being in content area classrooms to support the implementation of the curriculum for our students, as well as other varieties of instructional strategies. So I think that is why you have seen the increase, and that is a population that we continue to track. And as Ms. Holmgren said, the access scores is another indicator for us that we continue to look at.
Ms. Palmer.
So I'll echo what some of my colleagues have said. I think for sure there's a lot to celebrate, certainly opportunities for improvement. One population that I did want to ask about is there's a pretty clear disparity, students with disabilities with an IEP versus those who either have no IEP or a 504. I can draw some conclusions. I don't know if, you know, what you attribute that to, and sort of what are we doing? What can we do to address that?
Are you asking the distinction between each of those subgroups? Or are you asking the disparity?
The disparity in the numbers.
subgroups?
It's pretty significant.
If you look at the subgroup, which is students with disabilities, no IEP, we talked about this in length at CNI last week. So those are students who could have exited or are, they could have exited having an IEP or 504. So they no longer have an IEP or 504. Anytime a student is classified, whether they receive an IEP or 504, they begin taking this assessment, they are taken into this subgroup. So it is very skewed data in as far as this subgroup is concerned, because it includes a lot of fluctuation, and it also includes what I would consider almost out of date data.
Okay.
So what we really look at here is students in the two subgroups, which are students with disabilities IEP and students with disabilities 504. However, being that this is a template that we are provided by the state, we are required to include this category that does have students who are very much moving in and out.
Okay. I appreciate the clarification.
Other board member questions? I just wanted to add one piece of it that came out in the CNI committee. And this was actually something that Ms. Stern had brought up the previous year that we discussed again, is that every year is different and unique. So one question you want to ask is, who are this year's 11th graders? Now they'll be seniors in September. And where were they during the pandemic? Well, they were in middle school. So I think a lot of what we're seeing with the math scores is, math is cumulative, like it stacks up one upon the next skill as you go forward. And so I'm hopeful that as a few things happen, we're going to start to continue to see upward trends in math, which are, we implemented Eureka Squared all the way up to Algebra 1. These kids, a couple of them would have accessed that, but some of them might have taken Algebra 1 previous to that. We also implemented a new seventh grade math curriculum, which spirals in some 8th grade content, which is really pre-algebra. Those kids will only be in 8th grade next year. It's going to be another 3 years after that before they take NJGPA. So I think one of the things that's interesting for us in CNI is that we see all the amazing things that the curriculum office does to address this data. But then as each cohort moves through, you kind of have to remember where they were when these things took place and also where they were during the pandemic, which I think is going to have impacts throughout the next couple of years. And that's just a piece of it. I think sometimes, at least I want to snap my fingers and see the results of things that we've done immediately, but that's just not how it works. And also, to the point of the cohorts, each group of kids is unique. So sometimes, when you're looking at comparing this year's 11th graders to last year's and the year prior, those are actually 3 completely different groups of kids. So it's hard, right? I mean, I always say the standardized test definitely means something, but it doesn't mean everything. It's one piece of information, almost like a temperature check or a diagnostic tool, but it doesn't give you the full picture of how our students are achieving. But it's useful for what it is, for that snapshot, and for the ability, because it is standardized, to compare across the state. So it's good for that. Ms. Stern, did you have something else?
Just a small comment. This cohort of students who are now going off to college, I'm seeing those kids and they're taking math placement tests in college, and a lot of them are not doing well in the algebra part because it's been so long since they did algebra. So when I having that experience, I look at this very differently. I see how much our curriculum is rigorous in this district. So when our students are doing this work, some of them might not have done that work for several years, and then they take this test. It just may not be as, they may not remember some of the, the content. So anyway, it's a small comment, but.
Any other board member questions or comments on NJGPA? All right, thank you so much, Ms. Holmgren. We really appreciate the information and the data. And we will be back in October.
September for access.
September for access.
End of October.
End of October, November will be NJSLA. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Moving on to administrative reports, I'm going to throw it over to Dr. Morton.
Thank you very much, Ms. Winters. I'd just like to take an opportunity to introduce our list of candidates for the Board of Education election. We did receive our unofficial list from the Board of Elections. I believe this year's election day is November 4th. 4th, right? 5th was last year. I believe it's the 4th this year. First, there we go. But nonetheless, if you're in the room when I read your name, you can feel free to stand up, wave, whatever's most comfortable for you. If you're online, you can raise your hand as well. Begin with Mr. Colin Duckett. Mrs. Candy Cummings. Mr. Adam Greenbaum. Mrs. Gina Winters. And Miss Brandy DeVoe. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to correspondence. I'm going to start with Ms. Sherfain on that side of the room. If anybody has any correspondence they would like to share.
I do not.
Nor do I.
Nope. I do. I got to go to the Cherry Hill Preschool Roundup last night at Jake's Place. It was fantastic. I want to say there were over 250 families there. Dr. Mahan, I don't know if you have a better number than that, but there were a lot of people there. How many? I'm sorry.
There were about 800 people there.
800 people there. Okay. It was amazing. I can't even begin to describe the amount of joy the preschool families had all gathering together. It was beautifully done by Dr. Mahan and everybody in the preschool program. There was the transportation program was there. Linda King was there. There was a school bus they could climb on. Cherry Hill Police and Fire came to support. There was a fire truck for the kids, a police officer with a police car that they could climb in and out of. There were treats for everybody, pretzels. There was Mr. Softy with ice cream. There was, of course, the playground, story time. Everybody got a book to go home with. There were crafts. Lakeshore was there. Goldfish Swim School was there. Is it right at school? Is the before and after care program? They were there. Discovery Corner was there. I'm sure I'm going to miss somebody, but my point is it was an amazing community event for everybody. The families were super excited. Returning families coming back to the program couldn't wait to get started again. New families coming in. So many families said to me, this is why we moved to Cherry Hill. We're so excited to be part of this. We can't wait to get started. So it was just a really beautiful night. And I just want to give a special shout out to the high schoolers. There were high schoolers there to help the preschoolers and to assist. And it was just so wonderful to see the connection between the older students in the district and the new students coming in. It's such a beautiful moment. And to see the preschoolers look up to the high schoolers like that, it's just it was a wonderful, wonderful night. So thank you so much to Dr. Mahan, Ms. Katsikas, everybody who was there to support. If I forgot anybody, I'm sorry, but it really was, I was there all night. It was great, very joyful. Anybody else have correspondence? Who wants to try to top that one? Anybody else have correspondence?
No, thank you.
None.
It will not top it, but I do have correspondence. I went to, and I apologize. I think it was Thursday, I think it was Tuesday, National Night Out last week at Cherry Hill High School East. Fantastic community event, not nearly as exciting as last night with preschoolers. And I did not see 800 people there, but I did get there a little bit later on. But it was a great event, a lot of different vendors, booths, people supporting resources, lots and lots of happy community members came out, and folks from our district, folks from the township, just a great event. And there were some truck experiences for the kids and other, craft stuff. So great night out, very joyful.
None to report.
And I have nothing for tonight.
Thank you guys so much. So I guess the theme here is you should all go hang out with the preschoolers because they're super fun. Next is we have made it to first public comments. Give me 1 second to catch up here. There are 2 opportunities for public comment this evening. First public comment session is for board action items only, which tonight are 19th through 23. And there will be another public comment section for any topic at the end of the meeting. If you are a student in the district, you may comment on any agenda item during this first public comment period, and students are always given the opportunity to speak first. Public comment is an opportunity for members of the community to comment on matters relevant to the operations of Cherry Hill Public School District or within the authority of the Cherry Hill Board of Education. The board welcomes diverse opinions on relevant matters. Under established federal law governing reasonable restrictions on speech in public forums, statements which demean individual community members or groups or which are irrelevant to the operations of the district or repetitious will not be permitted. Community members who would like to present information not relevant to the school district are always welcome to communicate directly to the district superintendent, board president, and all board members via email or other alternative means. If you would like to speak now, please identify the agenda item and clearly state your name and municipality. We alternate between speakers in the room and those online, and each speaker is given a maximum of 3 minutes to speak. The timer on the screen will indicate the amount of time you have remaining. Whew, it's a lot. So as is our custom, we always start in the room. If anybody would like to comment during first public comment, this is your moment. Action items only, unless you are a student, then you can say whatever you want on the microphone. Please approach the microphone and give us your name, municipality, and the action item you're speaking on.
Rick Short, Cherry Hill, action item 19.2. One of the most important things that the board has to do is financial accountability of the district. Some things that they don't know or that they've missed as part of it, because you have to question these things about 19.2 is a project done at Kilmer, paving project. done, not on the bond.
Mr. Short, 19.2 is about appointing Mr. Schimpf as the purchasing agent for the district.
Right. I'm giving some examples of financial responsibility under purchasing.
I don't know if that's directly related to 19.2, but
So, again, under purchasing, there was a project done. I don't know if you guys even know that it wasn't on the bond, the Kilmer paving project in the back end. There's another project done where they actually took safety stuff out of it. That was the last time that happened. And again, there's no financial accountability for that. There was another project done or being done. It's actually at the wrong location. So my question to you as the board is any of this stuff normal? Is this $53,000?
Mr. Short, this isn't relevant to appointing Mr. Schimpf as the purchasing agent.
It's not relevant. It's part of the resolution, isn't it?
This
Can't
has
it
to
deny
do
it?
with, this is an appointment. We're appointing an individual to a position.
That's responsible for that amount of money, right?
But not in the past. This is a new person that we're appointing to the position.
Okay. Well, then I didn't know this was going to become a debate, so maybe maybe you shouldn't appoint the guy if you don't even know what his responsibilities are and what he's allowed to do. Thank you.
Looking online, the next person to comment is a caller with a phone number ending in 788. It's your turn. Please unmute, give us your name and municipality. You have 3 minutes.
My name is Jeff Podowitz. I live in Cherry Hill, and this is 19.2. And I want you to vote no on this resolution, period. I read it on Justia, all right? The idea of giving anyone, without bidding, $53,000 to $22,000 if it's for transportation, without bids, without anything. And you all have a habit of doing that. Decrease the chance of bids. The idea of doing that, period, is a vote no. And I read it on Justia. And I bet everyone should look at 19.2, anyone listening to me, and go to Justia and see it doesn't have to be this way. It's only this way, $53,000 and $22,000. It is only this way. And the numbers I saw on Justia weren't that high, 53,000. When I looked at it, that's unbelievable. If you do that 10 times a month, that's $500,000. You do that over a year, it's $6 million, and you can never follow it. And then it talks about, it goes on further, 18A, and again, it's really the total lack of transparency. You'll never follow that money. So if you had this before, you shouldn't have had it. Not from what I read on the statutes. And what does that mean? That means something's $53,000 according to this, and that's a lot of money for most districts. We can do it. Preschool expansion. Give you an example. You have to equip those rooms in the inside with blackboards, with desks. That could easily go $53,000. $53,000 here, $53,000 here. All of a sudden, you're adding up with a fortune. That's real money. No, that should go through the board, not just rubber stamp. Same with the next one. And I looked at both up. I don't see that number, at least not from Justia, 53,000, but you're allowing it. And you don't have to allow it. You don't have to allow the other one either. So please, everyone, look at 19.2. Vote no, because it shouldn't have been voted on in the first place as a positive. If this is what's enforced now, it should never have been. A board should never approve this, and it doesn't have to. but it allows you to be less transparent, which is what you have been doing and what you are doing. So I tell everyone to look at this. The money can add up easily to $6 million, $10 million between these both of them in a year. Easily add up. And you'll never be able to track it. Not for at least a year and a half or 2 years. At least here we can see where the money is. Okay, yeah, vote no. And if you had this enforced, you should have never had it enforced in the first place. Just think about how much money you could spend without tracking. Okay, I guess that's it. Hello?
Thank you, Dr. Podowitz, for your comment. Is there anyone else in the room who would like to make first public comment this evening? Seeing no takers, I'm looking back online. I don't see anybody who would like to make first public comment online, so I'm going to close first public comment and move on to our board work session. And I am first with the CNI report out, which is going to be extremely easy tonight because we already did the NJGPA presentation, so I don't have to report on that. And we're going to discuss goals later, so I don't have to report on that. We did also have the virtual remote learning plan, which is on the agenda under P&L, I believe. And we talked about the first reading of the generative AI policy. Thank you to Mr. Mayor, by the way, for subbing in to CNI to help us out with that, and for also coming back next month as CNI works cooperatively with P&L on the generative AI policy. And we also approved the Rosa musical, which will be Frozen Junior for this year. So anybody who's excited about that, that'll be in the spring, usually around March. Any other CNI members have anything to add from our committee meeting? All right, perfect. And that is the CNI report for tonight. Moving on to BNF, Mr. Greenbaum.
Thank you. So in this month's BNF committee, we had a couple items. We had an update from Aramark. Some representatives from Aramark joined us. We were introduced to the new district food service team. They shared some changes in staff, menu features, additional offerings, some sales numbers and visual enhancements being done to our food service program. And we had a brief discussion on nutritional information, which was a great follow-up from a similar discussion last year. We received an update on APRs. Talking about certificates of occupancy are in progress for all of them. Punch lists are being worked on, and they are all on schedule to open in time for the new school year. So very exciting, just a few weeks away. And I think we're having a grand opening ceremony coming up soon. I don't think we've announced the date yet, but it's coming up later this month. And then lastly, discussion of district goals, priority 2, which is operational excellence, which we will include in our district goals discussion later in the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is the HR committee. Ms. Stern, is there anything you can report out from our HR meeting on July 29th?
Absolutely not.
It's the best committee report ever. And moving to P&L, Mr. Mayor, can you make it that short as well?
I can't. I wish I could. I'm going to try. I'm going to say I would, I would certainly try, but I'm going to fail miserably. Maybe not miserably. We had a good meeting. We discussed, first started discussing the high school student reps to the board. I will say this, that we spent probably close to 40 minutes on just that. So it's an important issue for us on the board to try and better define the roles that each of you and the alternatives have here in the board. It is a conversation which is ongoing. One thing that came out of that was that within the next couple of weeks or so, we are going to hopefully be able to set up essentially an onboarding meeting with all of you, with myself and hopefully Ms. Winters, to better go over and define goals, expectations, and try and make your time here and all future board reps' time here more meaningful, more useful for all of you. So it's an ongoing conversation. We also had an opportunity through Dr. Mahan to hear the feedback that was provided by student reps so that we could factor that into how we move forward. So just know that we do take it seriously and we spend a great deal of time on it. We spoke briefly just to confirm that we're ready to move forward tonight with second reading of the eligibility of residents and non-residents. School calendars are updated appropriately, just the language along the border. Thank you to a community member for pointing out that the original 27-28 calendar reflected one incorrect date for the beginning of Passover. That has been corrected. And that was it for P&L.
Thank you. And moving on to governance, Ms. Gallagher, can you please give us the governance report?
Sorry, I was unprepared. Okay. Yeah, so Dr. Braddock, Mrs. Winters, and I met on, technically it's the August meeting, but we met in July 31st. And we discussed two topics. So one was managing meeting lengths and just kind of streamlining meetings in general. We had a couple of meetings in May and June that were like marathon meetings. And I think we all agreed that it was too much, for us and for community members who want to be involved in meetings. I presented a list of options as to maybe some streamlining. I did receive some feedback, and we will take that into account for future meetings. And as we discuss goals and schedule presentations and all that stuff, hopefully we can streamline and create more efficient meetings moving forward so that we're not kind of stacking a lot of presentations into one meeting. And then we also looked at the NJSBA calendar, kind of like they have if you ever just Google NJSBA calendar, it'll come up with like a 12-month things that boards should consider doing during each month. They're not like some are mandatory, some aren't. So we were looking at it, and I didn't outline it here, but there were a couple policies that I need to send to P&L to consider looking at for the future. Policy 9320, policy 3126, and policy 5600. And I can give an explainer as to why, but most of them it's been a while since they've been updated. One is student code of conduct, one is district mentoring plan, and the policy 9320. Gosh, which one does that have to do with? I forget. Yeah, it had to do with the NJSBA calendar. So P&L can look at those and maybe add them to the next couple of months for updating. Nothing is like urgent. It's been a while. Any other comments or questions? No. Did you say yes? Okay. So I guess that kind of leads us into our, well, not really, like goals discussion. So with governance, the governance committee had discussed a couple of items that as a board, we would like to tackle for the next, so until like June 30th, 2026, right? So that's our year. Oh my gosh, where's my email? Sorry. There we go. So we had, there it is. The three goals that we were looking to do as a board for next year would be the beginning of board certification. That's going to be a multi-year item. So we have up to 4 years to complete it. We have started working on the training aspect of the board certification. And I know Ms. Winters has been working with our NJSBA rep to kind of maybe create like a checklist to kind of keep that process going. And I've talked to Mr. Mayor about it, but I guess it might be an ongoing, since I know your time on the board is coming to an end at the end of this calendar year, but updating our bylaws, which will be a massive undertaking. But many of the items, it's time. And then kind of piggybacking on what the governance meeting discussed was streamlining meetings. So those would be our three board goals for this school year. Any other comments or questions?
Just that to pick up on what Ms. Gallagher was saying, I was in touch with Lori Banlow at NJSBA about our board retreat, which is one of the requirements for board certification, which will be coming up in October. And I asked her what she suggested we have the retreat about, because we've never done one, at least in my memory, the way that we're proposing to do it through NJSBA toward certification. And she suggested two things: that we use our board self-evaluation as part of the retreat, and also work on our board goals. So we now have the 3 proposed goals coming out of governance, and I'll send out the information for board self-evaluation this weekend so that we can start working on that. And then when Dr. Bandlow comes to work with us at our retreat, it'll really be focused on issues of the board itself: board governance, board goals, board retreat, board self-evaluation. So we can continue our process of self-improvement, because as we grow into a stronger, more cohesive board, it only benefits the district as we professionalize ourselves, our relationships, and the way the board works together. If that makes sense to you guys? All right, then that's what we're going to do moving forward. I will confirm with Dr. Banslow that that is what we will do. She said that the board retreat should happen prior to lame duck. So that's really September, October. So I was targeting October 13th for that in the evening, which is a Monday night. So mark your calendars. We just, as long as we have quorum, which is 5 of us, we can do it. And she will come and do the presentation for us. So I'll send the self-eval stuff out this weekend so we can get that started, because then she'll do the analysis and then help us work through the information, which I think will be really helpful to have somebody objective take a look at what we all say about our board functioning, and then maybe give us some ideas and processes to help us to get better and improve as we move into the new year. Any questions? Dr. Dreisen?
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate the focus and commitment on governance and board self-improvement. 2 questions on what you said. In terms of calendar, I think you mentioned that the calendar is the school year calendar. And I'm just curious if governance considered for board stuff, would it make more sense to align with the calendar year with the cycle of board members? So with reorg, and then, so board goals would be January through December. Not for an answer now, but just that was one question I'd have. And then the second point would be, so with that structure in mind, that calendar year in mind, so excited for us to have a board retreat. I think that's an exciting development for the board. Moving forward, I think it would be optimal if we could move that retreat earlier in the calendar year, so that with new incoming board members, that new board can have a retreat and learn how to, optimally work together.
So yes, ideally it would be sooner. Like, it wouldn't be so late in the year, kind of moving so close to elections too. I think Mrs. Winters and I kind of realized that, everything was done. We need to, it's kind of that whole idea of like looking ahead and preparing for, that's why, like, at the last meeting, I said, okay, let's look at the next 2 months. Like, what do we need to be thinking about for the future? So that next year, and then future years, maybe the self-evaluation can be done maybe earlier, and then that board retreat can happen over the summer, which might be better for people's schedules, and we can use the goals. But yeah, I mean, and listen, you don't have to only have one retreat a year. It could be a get to know you, and then another one, there's it's what we make it, but yes, like, this is later than hoped, but we just kind of like,
again, I think it's great that we're doing it.
I think the summer kind of hit us all, and
Right.
or me, and it was like, oh gosh, like, it's going to be August, and then and then the dates that we wanted in September didn't work, and so we were kind of pushed into October, and so this is when, like, planning.
Right, and I love that talk about, and so just planning ahead, we have that NGSBA template calendar. I think we could even be talking in governance now about committing to trying to emulate that calendar for the 2026 calendar year, if we could.
And yeah, maybe there is an argument to make to have board goals linked with the calendar year versus, because with people leaving, with the last thing you want to do is maybe start a big project and then someone's leaving and you're kind of like piggy. So maybe it's an idea, it's something to consider for the future. So thanks.
Well, I think that's why it'll be nice to have Dr. Banlow help us, because this is something new that we've never done before. So it'll be good to have the assist from NJSBA to mentor us through, especially our first time taking a crack at this. And then hopefully it'll just become something that the board does. Let's hope so. Set us on the right path. Any other questions for governance? Thank you. Perfect. Okay, now we're going to move on and we're going to do district goals all as a piece. So each committee that had a strategic plan priority then went back and developed the district goals with the administration based on that priority. So I'm going to go first because it's priority 1 with CNI. We all have a copy of the draft goals. It was also embedded in the agenda as well, so that everybody can see them. Thank you, everybody, especially to the committee chairs for their diligence in working through this process one more time. For CNI, we were very pleased with the goals on achievement and outcomes for this year, which is priority 1. The only change that we made was just a clerical. We decided to renumber them so that they match the numbering system in the strategic plan so that everybody can follow along at home. So the preschool goal, since it was developed separately through the preschool committee, is now AIM pre-K. It just comes first, followed by 1A, which then tracks with the numbering system in the strategic plan. Other than that, everything follows the order that we had, and we felt that the actions and KPIs proposed by the administration were well aligned for year 1 of 5 moving forward. Any other CNI members have anything to add to that? Okay, priority 2, I'm going to throw it to Mr. Mayor for operations.
Sure, and this will be relatively brief as well, because we didn't make any real adjustments to the draft goals. The 2 areas of focus, and we agreed with Dr. Morton and the administration, listened to them first to understand what is doable, what's realistic, and what will make the most immediate impact for us. And we agreed with the aims and the KPIs. First, with regard to communication, really that was sort of I think the theme of the first issue on operational excellence, and goal 2A in particular, was communication transparency, better communication, specifically with the use of the dashboard, and with a push to try and increase the number of engagements that we have and families that we engage with. We did discuss the importance of trying to be measurable and ensure that what we're doing is actually working, and doing that in a way that we have where we can actually have an impact and not necessarily benchmark ourselves against things that we have no control over. Secondly, and this of course is one of the most important things that we're going to begin to do, and in fact started doing it today with the first meeting of the committee, was on elementary redistricting and the importance both of ensuring that we are considering all of the important factors and that we are getting input and working collaboratively with the community. So we discussed, first of all, agreed with the AIM, KPIs, and all of the actions, and the importance of making sure that we are meeting regularly and having discussions with community members to ensure that there is buy-in and an understanding of the process as it goes forward. So no real adjustments. Those are the focuses that we will start with the strategic plan with regard to priority 2. Anyone want to add anything to that was discussed in BNF? Questions? Mr. Greenbaum.
I'll just say thank you very much for leading the discussion in my absence when we had that discussion. And just to quickly summarize, it's really great alignment with the strategic plan, the goals and the KPIs, and really just a big focus on the first year of the 5-year plan moving into the next school year, which, as Mr. Mayor said, is really focused on improving district communications, use of the data dashboard to increase transparency and access to information, and working on new ways to improve and increase community engagement. And again, thank you very much.
Happy to do it.
Thank you. Priority 3, aligning student supports to mirror student needs, went to Special Education Committee, which is Ms. Stern.
So we we had to reschedule our meeting, unfortunately. So we actually just had our meeting. So everyone would have received an email with the updates. The email came today with the updates. So I just want to highlight, first of all, that we added a special education goal to pre-K. So, and that is, and part of that discussion was, we always say, preschool is the intervention for special education. And so obviously we should have that called out in some way in that goal. So, the goal is, and you guys have it in your email, continue to collaborate with special education stakeholders to enhance the program as an intervention for early learners with identified needs. So, just wanted to make sure that we as Dr. Dreisen is saying, that's in the strategies and actions portion. And then special ed is woven throughout the goals, but I'm going to now, and the aims and the strategies and actions and the KPIs. So it's throughout, but I'm going to now focus on 3, sorry, getting there. So as you can see, MTSS is the first part, and that mirrors our strategic plan. So what we're doing in the kind of overview is in the 5-year plan, the beginning is gathering the data. MTSS is newer to the district. So in terms of implementation, or NJTSS. So we really need baseline for all of the ways that we're going to be implementing and tracking, and then putting the interventions in. So just kind of big overview, that's the big picture. And you'll see that reflected in AIM 3A. And then in AIM 3B, that is focused more on students with special needs. MTSS and JTSS is all students, right? That applies to all of our students, which I think ties relevantly just to, NJGPA, for instance, all of our students getting better and doing, demonstrating more success on our testing. Well, how does that happen? Well, making sure we have the interventions and strategies for all of our students. And that's where that happens. And then 3B is, again, specifically our special education students. And this is part of the bigger, the 5-year plan is a vision for increasingly having an inclusive school environment, I think, as the overarching goal. So these strategies and actions one of them that was added today, again, was enhancing the staff and peer support to increasingly promote inclusion across all schools. The least restrictive environment is more inclusion, typically, that, our special education students are part of the larger school environment. And also, I guess the reverse inclusion, right, of our gen ed students may be part of special education students' environments. So looking to improve overall the experience of our students and families. We call it kind of like improved customer service is kind of how we look at it. That's, a challenge we have faced. And there is a focus on focusing on how do we get there. We provide increasing professional development, not just for our special ed team members, but also our gen ed team members. So that we talked about the importance, or that addresses the importance also of professional development. I know sometimes there are a lot of questions about why are we doing professional development? Why do we send her this one or that one? Well, that's in this goal, it supports special education. We want to decrease roadblocks to inclusive practices. I wanted to kind of give more of an overview, and that's, really, those are some of the big pictures, and specifically to, when you look at strategies and actions, instructional strategies to offer more personalized support, and evaluating what we're doing and making sure that we identify the areas where we have need for change. And then one of the last pieces is the communication piece with families. So we also, part of that is further developing the CPAG, which actually I'm looking to see Dr. Moore and Miss Mallory. I don't actually, we talked about adding that in, and I actually don't, we didn't add it in yet. Okay, so that's gonna be added in specifically because this year has been a big push to increase the role and development of this, to support the role and development of the CPAG, to provide that resource to families.
Yeah, we talked about the district's partnership with CPAG as we move towards meeting our goals and goal setting. So yeah, we'll add that piece.
Thank you. That's great. So I don't know if I did it justice. If there's anything else to add to that.
I think I covered everything.
So again, kind of a little bit of an overview and a few specific pieces of information. So
Perfect.
Any questions or?
Anybody have any questions for
Comments?
special education? Priority 3? No. Priority 4 is climate and family engagement, and that went to communications, and that's Ms. Palmer.
And so communications met twice to discuss this priority, most recently this morning. This goal, this priority is pretty broad and covers a lot of different facets of school climate and different pieces of community and school engagement. So the first goal centers on the function of the labor management collaborative, and specifically for this year, ensuring that each school level LMC team really has defined roles and responsibilities with a pretty clear timeline for implementation on that. A focus on more district-wide, larger LMC meetings that have representation from 100% of our schools. So looking to, engage more teacher level, some different school stakeholders in those groups. Communication out from LMC to the larger district staff, and then a focus on setting annual goals for the LMC teams themselves for this year 1. Goal 4A2 is focused on student government, and I really like this one, really looking at a more robust student government infrastructure in our high schools. And the idea is really to create not just class level student government organizations, but then a structure that levels up to a collaborative student government organization that joins the 2 high schools to kind of create unity, encourage students to develop broader. I think the goal is 3 measurable annual outcomes that group will be tasked with identifying and implementing. A focus on creating leadership training for those student government representatives, which I love. And what was the 4th thing? And then regular updates, of course, out to the board on what that looks like and the progress there. Goal 4A3 focuses a little bit differently on community level transparency. So our focus there is on creating at least 3 community feedback forums. That the idea is to rotate those locations and make those forums separate from some of the more specialized community forums for things like elementary redistricting, maybe budget topics have yet to be determined. That's something that the board will be a part of determining. But that's the idea there, is to create dedicated community forums that we don't currently necessarily have in place. A focus on looking at our digital and social media engagement metrics and reporting those out to the board so we can see how we're doing and that we're improving over time. Let's see, what else do we have here? An annual state of the district presentation, again, to the board and greater community, and looking at ways that we can package sort of those progress reports differently to present to the community. And then a mechanism for answering or responding to feedback that we receive at those community forums. Let's see. 4B, goal 4B is focused on creating a data dashboard to, is that still within our goal? Yeah. to track students who are receiving different sorts of support, not necessarily just academic support, but mental health, academic, behavioral supports, making sure that we're identifying students so that they don't fall through the cracks, what that looks like, what we need to invest in. So establishing baseline data there for this first year, 25, 26. And then again, we had a lot of conversation about how we make these things measurable, what the timelines are, and how and when each of these pieces are reported out to the board and the community. And then similarly, goal 4C looks at increasing the percentage of students, parents, and staff who report a positive school climate. And again, for year one, we're looking at setting baseline data. Schools hosting at least 2 family engagement events during this upcoming school year. Again, dates, topics to be determined. A focus on staff professional development, focus specifically on fostering positive school climates. And then here, each school implementing improvements in their entryways, things to make the physical entrance to your school, your physical front door, more inviting, more welcoming, more inclusive. And I think that's it for priority 4. It's a lot of information, so I tried to keep it high level. If there are questions, please ask. And if I left anything out, feel free to weigh in.
It looks like you did a great job. And then priority 5, staff recruitment and retention, that's HR, but we haven't met yet to discuss the specific goals. So we will get that together between the HR committee, and then if there's any feedback, provide that to you. HR did meet, but we met at a point where it was right before the goals came out. So I think we need to the 3 of us need to get back together and go through that. So if anybody else wants to take a crack at reading the HR goals, Miriam is the chair. You can send your feedback in her direction to work through that. Is there any overall discussion or questions that anybody has about the goals? This is sort of our moment to discuss as a full board, because the idea is that at the next meeting, which is August 26th, we're going to proceed to a vote. So if there are any changes that people would like to see, questions that they have, now is your moment. Look at the happy board members. I do feel like, not to speak for anybody, but for my own experience, I felt like this made a lot more sense to me this year because it flowed from the strategic plan. I feel like in the past, it felt like the goals were being generated and it was a harder process. This, I feel like because we put so much work into the strategic plan, this flowed more naturally out of it. So we were very familiar with the topics and what we wanted it to look like, and then the year one stuff. So it felt, at least to me, felt easier. Mr. Fain.
So I don't have a question, but one comment that I don't remember what discussion it was that we were talking about this. So I agree about the strategic plan. This process was a lot easier when we had more of a foundation to start from. One thing I just did want to mention is that we had discussion around making sure we have a timeline and intentional discussions about where we are with these goals periodically through the year, so that when we're here next year, we have somewhere to compare us to. And we discussed doing that we haven't come up with a definite plan on what that would look like, but we are hoping to have something, I don't know when, but have something that we can see and use as a basis for how often we're going to be assessing ourselves on where we are with our KPIs and things like that. So next year, it'll be a little bit easier of a discussion, and hopefully for the remaining of this strategic plan, we can continue to feel like this was a improved process from the previous year.
Good feedback. Any other questions? Dr. Dreisen.
I would just also comment on, I think with all the work that went into the strategic plan, one of the comments we talked about in CNI was that now when we're talking about district goals, annual goals, this is really the how. The strategic plan was the what, and this is the how. And so now this is over the 5 years, the board being, deferential to the district in how to accomplish this 5-year vision year to year. And so giving them that, discretion as to how to execute the how.
Thank you. Other board member comments? Ms. Stern.
Could we settled on a process for how to do what you're talking about. I mean, I know we batted around different ideas, whether through governance or through the president, but we settled on a plan.
My understanding was that Dr. Morton was working on that with his administration
Okay.
and that information would be forthcoming, but that's definitely something that's currently in the works.
Yeah, in last week's memo, I did share dates for quarterly updates to take place. As I had mentioned that we would use a scorecard format. So you actually have the actual document itself, and right next to it, you'll see columns with the dates for the quarterly updates. Those have been established already. We're gonna move forward with that, and you'll see an update, right? Whether on track, accomplished, in progress, or whatever that might be.
So that the process isn't in place, which is great. I guess I just also, the last thing I just wanted to is to really thank Dr. Morton, your entire team. I know, like, in our committee meetings, it's a lot of work to do this. And I also know that this drives, the district goals. And I hear it a lot when I visit schools, or we get in our memos, we get updates from, different schools, things. We hear how much effort is put to developing the building-based goals, which is based on the district goals, which then throughout the year, everything lines up and is referenced back. They're very meaningful. And, I just appreciate how much effort and how serious everybody takes that whole process. So I just want to thank everybody who's involved.
Thank you. So this concludes our goals discussion in the meeting. If anybody has any other thoughts as you go through it one more time this week, please be quick in letting district administration know, because we have to finalize them. That way we're ready to proceed to a vote on August 28th, because as Ms. Stern noted, then the building-based goals follow these. So we have to make sure that we're timely in our vote next week. So please read through them one more time. Let your committee chairs know if you have any further questions or concerns. If you have a question you don't know who to ask, I can help you get to the right person. And then we'll look forward to moving on this on the 28th. All right, moving to our action agenda. Did I say the wrong date? Whatever the Tuesday is, the 26th. 26th. I apologize. I'm sorry. I don't know why I said that. It is the 26th. It's our next meeting. That's the worst mistake I make tonight. I think I'm doing pretty good. Moving on to our action agenda, I am going to move the appointments. The superintendent recommends, and I move the following: 19.1, board secretary, assistant board secretary; 19.2, purchasing agent; 19.3, ratification of paid bills and budget transfers; and 19.4, custodian of records. Do I have a second? Mr. Mayor, are there any questions? Dr. Dreisen?
Can we get clarification on 19.2?
The law. I was going to ask. So I think I might, if I'm wrong here. So yes, so the bid thresholds in one do say 17,500, and there's another section of 25,000. However, in 4B, it says commencing in the 5th year after the year in which the PL Public Law 1999 C440 takes effect. Every 5 years thereafter, the governor, in consultation with the Department of Treasury, shall adjust the threshold amount. So I assume that.
Can I speak on that?
Yeah.
Yes, please, Ms. Augustine.
All right. So that's the purchasing law as far as the purchasing thresholds for having to go out to bid. And every time you appoint a new board, business administrator, board secretary, you are appointing them as the purchasing agent. If you have a QPA, a qualified purchasing agent certificate, your bid threshold is larger. And when you appointed me as I have a qualified purchasing agent certificate. You appointed me with the higher thresholds. But in addition, the state will periodically change, and they have been on a yearly basis, and increase those thresholds. So the 53,000 represented an increase from last year's amount.
Thank you for the clarification. We appreciate it. Are there any other questions? Ms. Palmer?
Just to follow up to that, any purchases that are made even within those dollar amounts still come to the board for approval, correct? As a purchase order or something else, correct? So there's still oversight.
Yes.
Okay, appreciate it.
Did everybody hear that? Ms. Goodfellow?
the board still approves each and every purchase through your bill list. So yes, you would absolutely see where all of that money is.
Thank you for clarifying on the transparency piece. Ms. Stern.
So the onus is on us to review the bill list thoroughly and be accountable to the public for how we spend the money, right? So
Yes.
whether it's reimbursing a parent who paid for something that their child then had to not participate in, because that shows up on our bill list. Sometimes it's $38, or it's, a $50 purchase of pizza for an event. Those are all under the threshold. And if God forbid we had to bid for every single one of them, I can't even imagine what we would be going through. So, I think just for transparency purposes, understanding why that limit is there, I think it's, and I don't know if you could say, Miss Augustine, but I'm going to guess that the vast majority of non-bidded items are not at the top of the threshold. Would that be accurate to say?
Correct, but there's still other purchasing regulations that require at a certain amount, you also have to have quotes. So when the whole purchase order approval process goes through, if it meets that quote threshold, they have to attach the necessary quotes as well. And any large purchases as bids will come to the board for approval as separate items.
And I would just remind the board that at the end of each year, you are audited. Those are very specific processes by which you are getting pinpoint, looks at each and everything that you're doing in your purchasing agent, through your purchasing agent and through your business office. And I believe that audit has been exceptionally clean for the last few years.
Any other questions on purchasing and bids? All right, I had a motion and a second. So Ms. Augustine, please open the vote.
Voting is open. We have a unanimous vote.
Thank you. Onto the CNI agenda. The superintendent recommends, and I move the following. 20.1 approval of attendance at conference and workshops for the 25-26 school year. 20.2 approval of tuition contract with Camden County Technical Schools. 20.3 approval of nursing services plan for the 25-26 school year. And 20.4 approval of a settlement agreement. Do I have a second? Ms. Palmer, are there any questions on the CNI agenda tonight? Any questions for CNI? Seeing none, I'm going to ask Ms. Augustine to please open the vote.
Voting is open.
Miss Augustine, I'm a no on 20.3 and a yes on everything else. I'll be a no on 20.3 as well. Yes on everything.
With the exception of the 2 no votes on 20.3, we have a unanimous yes vote.
Thank you. Mr. Greenbaum, please move the BNF agenda.
Thank you. The superintendent recommends, and I move the following. 21.1, approval of bill lists. 21.2, resolutions. 21.3, resolution for the award of bids. 21.4, resolution improving high schools east and west cheer camps. Do I have a second? Mr. Fain. Any questions? Seeing none, Ms. Augustine, please open the voting.
Voting is open.
Ms. Augustine, I just have to recuse myself from the third bill list in 21.1. I work for Bayada and I recuse from any payments to Bayada. Thank you.
Ms. Augustine, I also have to recuse myself from any invoice payments to ESS to avoid a conflict of interest.
Ms. Augustine, I'm going to recuse myself from Jewish Federation of South Jersey on the second bill list to avoid a conflict of interest.
Okay, I've noted the 3 recusals and the rest is unanimous vote, yes vote.
Thank you. Mrs. Sherfane, can you please move the HR agenda?
Sure. The superintendent recommends, and I move the following: 22.1, termination of employment certificated; 22.2, termination of employment non-certificated; 22.3, appointments certificated; 22.4, appointments non-certificated; 22.5, assignment salary change certificated; 22.6, assignment salary change non-certificated; 22.7, other compensation certificated; and 22.8, other compensation non-certificated. Do I have a second? Mr. Greenbaum, any questions, comments? Yes, Ms. Palmer.
No questions, just one comment. I just want to wish Mrs. Kittles all the best at Thomas Paine as she gets ready to retire. She's been there for at least as long as my kids have been in the district, and she is a phenomenal human being. And I wish her well. Sad to see her go.
Thank you. Are there any other comments, questions? Okay, Ms. Augustine, can you please open voting?
Voting is open.
Ms. Augustine, I'm going to recuse myself from 22.3 for a conflict of interest.
Ms. Augustine, I'm going to recuse from 22.3 L, letter L, and also recuse from 22.5, letter B.
I've noted the 3 recusals and the rest is unanimous.
Excellent. And with that, the board has approved the appointment of 3 very important administrative positions. I just want to give an opportunity to publicly recognize each of those administrators and give them an opportunity to share a few words. I'll begin with Mrs. Catherine Pereira, Katie Pereira. Ms. Pereira has a long history and very unique and interesting history as a high school assistant principal, district instructional supervisor. She's worked for the New Jersey Department of Education. Since 2020, she's been a science teacher at High School East. And most recently, she served last year as the administrative intern at High School East. What she's able to do with data, I've not seen done before. So truly, truly phenomenal work that she's done. And something unique about her, she has a bachelor's degree in neuroscience, biochemistry, and molecular biology.
So
Very
those
impressive.
are concentrations.
Concentrations, okay, great concentrations. Nonetheless, she's being appointed, or she has been appointed as the new assistant principal at High School East. Ms. Pereira.
I mean, what's there to say? Dr. Morgan pretty much summed it all up. Thank you. I just want to truly say I deeply appreciate and honored to step into this role as the assistant principal at High School East. This community has a special place in my heart coming in September 2020 in COVID. This would be my 17th year in education, but 6th year here in Cherry Hill. So I'm truly honored to have this role. It is my commitment to lead with care, collaboration, and purpose, and work to continue to support all of our students so that they feel seen, they feel heard, and they're empowered each and every day. So thank you again for this opportunity, and come South Highway East. Thank you.
Next up, Mr. Aaron Edwards, who's just been appointed as the new principal at the Coles Alternative High School program. Mr. Edwards comes to us with vast and extensive experience, both in district and out of district. Mr. Edwards has been a high school assistant principal for many years. He's been a principal at multiple locations. He's been a teacher of special education. This man holds degrees in counseling, special education, educational leadership. Truly an outstanding gentleman, one of the kindest, most polite gentlemen, outside of myself, of course, but maybe even more so than myself. But nonetheless, I believe he's going to do a great job. Mr. Aaron Edwards.
First and foremost, I'd like to thank the Board of Education for appointing me. Also, Dr. Morton for recommending me. Dr. Burry did an amazing job, and it was a rigorous interview process in order to get here. I'd like to also thank the support of the Cole staff who's here, who's going to be amazing in the transition and transformation as I transition roles as to become the principal at Cole's alternative program. Also, in doing that, look forward to working with the students and the parents to better the program. Also, I will be working with Ms. Lauren Giorgiano to help me transition so smooth, so we'll be ready to open the doors on day one. So thank you all.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, and last but not least, new principal at Beck Middle School, Miss Nishiria Sims, or Mama Sims, as she's affectionately known by the entire Beck community. But Mrs. Sims is a highly experienced educator. She has many years as an assistant principal. She's has in her history, she's been a founding principal of a school. Tremendous instructional expert, a tremendous instructional expertise and vision that she has. She's worked at within the Beck community since 2022 and has worked arm in arm with Ms. Metzger, helping to move forward and bring about the wonderful gains that the Beck community has seen. It is my pleasure to welcome her to this role. She has taught Spanish in the past. We need Spanish teachers in the district, but I think we like you where you are. So I'd like to give her an opportunity to just share a few words.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. I'm a little biased because I've only been at Beck, and I can venture to say that it's a really great place to work, and I'm really fortunate to be able to have this opportunity. Throughout the years I've been there, this will be my 4th year going into Beck. I've had an opportunity to work along some pretty incredible people and get to know the staff and the students and families. And I'm just grateful to be able to continue that opportunity and to continue the work that we've done. And I look forward to seeing you all at our events, and thank you for the opportunity.
Wonderful. Congratulations to everybody in the new roles. We're really excited. It's amazing. Moving on to P&L, Mr. Mayor, can you please move the P&L agenda?
Certainly, the superintendent recommends I move the following. Item 23.1, approval of harassment, intimidation, and bullying investigation decisions. Those are the ones the board heard on July 22nd. Item 23.2, approval of the 2027-2028 calendar. Item 23.3, resolution for the approval of the remote virtual instruction plan. Do I have a second? Dr. Braddock, are there any questions? Seeing none. Ms. Augustine, would you open the voting?
Voting is open.
Ms. Augustine, I am a yes, except on 23.1, I need to abstain because I was not here on the 22nd. Yes, yes. Mhm.
Okay, with one abstention on 23.1, the rest is unanimous.
Thank you. No items for governance this evening, so we're going to move over to new business. Do any board members have new business? You're gonna back out of this. Rock, paper, scissors it out, ladies. Ms. Sherfain.
Sorry, I didn't realize it would be a competition. I just wanted to make a quick note that the elementary redistricting committee officially met today for the first time. I don't have anything earth-shattering to report. However, I just wanted to make a note that we did meet for the first time, and we're getting the ball officially rolling from where we left off with all of this discussion. I guess earlier this year. I don't know what day it is or what time it is. So at some point, wherever we left off, we picked back up today. We discussed priorities about obviously capacity at schools as one of our main focuses, special education, bringing children back to their home schools, transportation efficiency and costs and impact long-term. So as we move into this process more formally, officially, and hopefully with more of a resolution by the end of, I believe, next school year, the end of this school year into next year. We're hoping that whatever decision comes out of this, that this will be something that mitigates a lot of the issues that we're facing right now for the foreseeable future and into the long term. So keep an eye out for dates that are coming your way by the end of this year for some town halls that we'll be hosting about this to bring the community voice back together, update everybody where we are, and to gain perspectives as much as possible.
Thank you, Mr. Fain. Ms. Stern.
I hope it's okay. It's a committee report as well. So just very briefly, Special Education Committee, a couple items that I did not speak to that we did address in our committee meeting that I did not speak to regarding the, beyond the goals. A few things I'm very excited about. I just want to really thank Miss Mallory and the team. The CPAG group is really getting off to a very exciting start. They're very enthusiastic. They have a lot of ideas and plans for how to develop that group as the advocacy group. So very excited to see what comes from that. We also had some interesting conversations about understanding some of the diverse challenges that we face when some of the pieces that we're trying to address with the goals in terms of communications with families, in terms of providing for all of our students, all of their needs, to ensure, the most support in the least restrictive environment. So some very, complex moving parts, but again, under the kind of large vision of really becoming a more inclusive school district, a more inclusion in buildings. And the truth is, as we grow, every year we on the board see that, more classrooms are being added, in more, and more services. We've grown that, as that grows structurally and budgetarily, we work very hard not to add more administrative positions. We do add more teacher positions and other support services, but not administrative positions. So, I think one of the things that's emerging is that we have a ton of expertise in district, but we are really working beyond our capacity administratively in the special ed department. I would just call it, that's not what was said to me, but that's how I conceptualize it. So we had the discussion about having the difference making of having some consultation, being able to hire potentially the idea of a consultant gives us a tremendous amount of flexibility budgetarily. It doesn't commit us to more positions, it doesn't commit us to more staff, but it does bring in the extra support when needed to help with some of the internal processes. We have so much compliance, which is very important. The question is whether, we want to be able to have our staff focus not just on compliance, our admin and staff not just focus on compliance, but also focus on forward-facing, family-facing, student-facing needs. So, I just want to put that out there. That's something, a little bit of a preview. We're going to be looking in that direction to look for some support. When we say as a board, what can we do to help the special ed community? What can we do to help our special educators in our district? That's something we can do. We can support their professional development, and we can support the idea of, adding some consultation, which really, I think is the best way to kind of stretch our dollars, quite honestly, and give the special education kids what they need. So that was really a big focus as well. And that's it. I don't know if there's anything to add, Ms. Palmer, Mr. Greenbaum. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Palmer.
I'll just Communications Committee. We've started to meet under this new iteration of the Communications Committee. The bulk of our conversation thus far has been centered on goals, but one topic that we did start to look at is how we as a board can better engage and inform our community. So board members, one thing that we're discussing is doing a written communication that comes from the board to the community that would be timed within the week of each meeting. So check your emails for some examples and some thoughts. I will be soliciting feedback that we can take back to Dr. Morton and Ms. Barati. And I think our hope, it's a starting point. It's certainly not a solution, but I think it is an important start. So check your emails, send your thoughts to us, and I'm hoping that we can share a little bit more information, detail with the community, and kind of get something piloted maybe after the first September meeting, but very soon.
Awesome. Anyone else? This is great. I think the new committees are working out really well. I just love to hear how the focus, I think, is intense on some of the topics that we've really been trying to get a handle on over the past few years. So thank you to redistricting, communications, and special education for those report outs. Ms. Gallagher.
Yeah, all right. So after careful consideration, I've made the difficult decision to step down from the board. I've recently accepted a new professional opportunity that unfortunately doesn't allow flexibility needed to continue serving in this role. Tonight is my last meeting. Serving on the board for the last over 2.5 years has been a deeply meaningful and eye-opening experience. The work is not easy and often goes unrecognized, but is incredibly important. Being a minority voice, and it's sometimes the only dissenting voice, has come with challenges. It has taken courage and resilience, and I've always strived to make decisions rooted in principle and informed judgment. I stand by every vote I've cast, and including those that weren't popular. In many cases, time has shown that those decisions to be sound. If anything, my only regret is that I didn't speak up more often. There is still important work ahead, and I encourage the board to continue to focus on setting clear goals with measurable outcomes and prioritize strong governance, areas where there is still room to grow. Thank you to all who have supported me throughout this journey, and I remain committed to advocating for our students now as an engaged and passionate parent and community member. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gallagher, and thank you for all the time, effort, long days and nights that you put into your community and to service on this Board of Education. As when you called to tell me it was a tough conversation, and I'll say in public now what I said to you on the phone, you made a difference for the community. So thank you for all the things that you brought forward. I think governance committee is a product of your passion, and I think the transparency you brought to the bond projects, I think that was something when you were elected you were passionate about, and that's evolved over the years, and you really made a difference in those and many other things. So thank you for your board service.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. We didn't always agree.
No, that's fine.
But you know what? That's the role.
Exactly.
It's
And-
learning to work with everybody and move forward and find consensus where you can. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
We
And thank you to
appreciate it.
everybody.
With that, we have Dr. Dreisen.
Thank you. I just wanted to publicly state, in addition to everything else that Ms. Winters just said, among this board, first board member to commit to the individual work of getting NJSBA certified, and you've really been a role model to me and something that I'm working towards. So just grateful for all of your leadership in that regard.
Well, thank you. Thank you. You're on your way.
So with that, with Ms. Gallagher's resignation, that has thereby created a vacancy on the board. So the district will post a notice of the vacancy tomorrow, which will go out. It will be in the newspaper as is required of us by August 20th. We will then accept applications and letters of interest, which will go through the BA's office as the board in her role as board secretary by September 2nd. By 4:00 p.m. And this will all, you don't take notes on this. This will all be in the public notice. This will all be public. And then the board will hold interviews in public for individuals who wish to fill the vacancy in September. So that will be the timeline. So the information will be published by August 20th. Applications, resumes, letters to us of interest by September 2nd. And all of that information will be available to the public so that anybody who's interested in joining our club. Several of us came on the board through this process. Mr. Mayor did. I did. Did you, Ms. Stern? No. So anybody who's interested in fighting the good fight up here with us, we always could use good people who want to do the work. Ms. Stern.
Thank you. Ms. Gallagher, I want to wish you good luck. Excited for your new work opportunity and appreciate, the hard decision you had to make and time you put in.
Thank you.
I just want to ask whether Ms. Winters or Ms. Gilfrin, I'm always going to say your name wrong. If you could speak to any, just in terms of qualifications of a candidate, what are any exclusionary qualifications that for a board a board member, so that members of the public who might be interested would just be aware of that.
So first and foremost, you have to be a resident of Cherry Hill. You must be 18 years of age. You may not have a disqualifying criminal offense. Just be aware that you will be fingerprinted. You must be fingerprinted in order to sit on a board of education. And you cannot have a disqualifying conflict of interest, meaning a claim against the board that would make it a conflict prior to being seated. Traditionally, those resumes have gone through the business administrator's office simply for the fact of kind of weeding out those ineligible individuals. Every time this process occurs, you find somebody that's in, who's applied from Haddonfield or from, some other township, so that process goes through the VA's office. The board then gets the candidates' resumes and sets up the interviews. Typically, there's a series of questions, but that's I think your question was just what are the requirements?
Thank you. And if you don't mind, in maybe more plain language, what is a disqualifying claim against the board?
So that would be any claim where the individual is actually seeking damages, money damages from the district.
Thank you.
Anybody else for new business? Any old business? All right. Moving on to second public comment. This is the second public comment section for any topic. If you would like to speak now. Oops, that is the wrong language that's in my script. Wait, I'm going to pivot. It's like an anchor man, he'll read anything that's on the camera. Second public comment can be on any topic. Public comment is an opportunity for members of the community to comment on matters relevant to the operations of Cherry Hill Public School District or within the authority of the Cherry Hill Board of Education. The board welcomes diverse opinions on relevant matters and under established federal law governing reasonable restrictions on speech in public forums. Statements which demean individual community members or groups or which are irrelevant to the operations of the school district or are fictitious will not be permitted. Community members who would like to present information not relevant to the school district are always welcome to communicate directly to the district superintendent, board president, and all board members via email or other alternative means. This is the second public comment section. It can be any topic. As by custom, we always start in the room. Anybody who would like to make second public comment at this point, please approach the microphone and give us your name and municipality. You'll have 3 minutes to make your comment.
Good evening, Kim Friedel, Cherry Hill. Just a couple of really quick comments. First, I'm really excited to hear the board is going to resume the retreat and the self-evaluation. I think you'll find it to be a really meaningful endeavor as you go through it. Second, I'm a day late and $1 short, but I just want to give my congratulations to Ms. Giordano on her new position and to thank her for the dedication and the commitment that she's given to Coles the last several years. She's truly been a voice and a support of those students. And she will be missed. And Mr. Edwards left, but I'm sure they'll be excited to have him join and all the things he'll bring to the table. Last, I just want to say to Ms. Gallagher, thank you for your time, your commitment. You've been a wonderful voice for the families, for the community, always speaking your truth and staying true to what you believe. So you will be missed. And I know how hard it is of a decision to decide to end your term. So I know it was not taken lightly, but I wish you the best in all of your future endeavors.
Thank you for your comment. Going online, the first caller with a hand raised is Nick Bevid. Nick Bevid, it is your turn. Please unmute and give us your name, municipality. You'll have 3 minutes. Please go ahead and unmute.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can, thank you.
Great. Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'll be brief. My message tonight is to the Stockton community. These comments are not directed at the entire community, as there are wonderful
Sorry,
teachers.
before you get started, can you just give us your name and municipality? I apologize.
Sure, no problem. Nick Bevid in Camden County, Cherry Hill.
Cherry Hill, thank you so much.
My message tonight is to the Stockton community. These comments are not directed at the entire community, as there are wonderful teachers, aides, volunteers, and parents at Stockton. Those of you who fall into this category, you know who you are. And those of you who don't, well, this message is for you. You lose. You have lost a family committed to community and the academic success of the children within it. You've lost a PTA president who has volunteered countless hours at your school to ensure that the kids who walk into the building every day have the best experience possible. You lost a mom whose goal has always been to stand up for the kids and make sure that everything we do as adults in this community benefits them. Most importantly, you showed your hand and lost a little girl who will undoubtedly flourish in her new school. I find it interesting in a community that rightly focuses on harassment, intimidation, and bullying amongst the student population that these same standards do not apply to the teachers and administration. Sadly, I'm confident that this message will fall on deaf ears, and those of you who are responsible for this will pat each other on the back, tell each other you are perfect. Think it's time to take a good long look in the mirror and simply be better. And secondly, I would like to make a comment to Miss Kimmy Gallagher and thanking her for her service to our community. You've been a strident voice, and we all very much appreciate your service. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Going back to the room, is there anyone in the room who would like to make second public comment tonight? Please approach the microphone. And give us your name and municipality.
Sarah Jocelyn, Cherry Hill. I happened to go to the past the Melberg School, and I've seen that the parking lot is being revamped. But what I noticed most is that a very long line of elderly, or well, actually mature pine trees have been removed. And of course, you know that in Cherry Hill, we value all of our trees, and there is a great sense of loss when they are removed because they serve many, many purposes. And I'm hoping that, of course, you followed the rules and provided for approval of the removal of the trees, but that you will also take part in the replanting of the trees, and you will be including the community, the school community, and so forth in doing so, because we are environmentally aware and we wish to make sure that we replace those trees. I also wanted to thank our student reps, and I'm glad to hear we are revising and listening to the feedback from our students. I recall that in the recent past, we did have both students from each school participate, and that allowed for continuity, even though there might have been one lead and then the other alternating, but they did attend. And I do want to say that I did support that, their time being, if they are available. And I look forward to hearing more about the training that is going on. This is part of the leadership that we develop at every level in our school with our students. And so I would like to remind the P&L committee that it might be time to take a look at our talented and gifted policy. It was last reviewed in January 2022. And I believe, I didn't double check this, but I believe it's also part of our CUSAC evaluation to take a look at that. This is an important thing because talented and gifted has a wide variety. And of course, it's certainly going to fit under at least one of our area goals. Okay. So I just remind you that when we look at our multi-tiered supports, we are also providing supports for our talented and gifted and training up our people from all ages to become leaders in the global society. I also remind you that we should put perhaps under our operational excellence that district assessment for equity in education, because that's something that needs to be followed up. And if there's a plan and a required action, that we do so. And I know that there are scorecards coming forward, financial accountability and so forth. I appreciate the sincere work of the entire board, and I thank you so much for all your service and each one of you for your service on this board. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Charlson, for your comment. Going back online, there's a caller with phone number ending in 788. It's your turn. Please unmute, give us your name and municipality. Dr. Podowitz, please unmute. We can't hear you. Dr. Podowitz, we still can't hear you. You may want to try disconnecting and calling back in. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next caller. Next caller is Jen Nadio. Jen Nadio, it's your turn. If you can unmute, give us your name, municipality, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Oh, thank you so much. Hi, Jen Nadio, Cherry Hill Township. I'm calling on behalf of myself, and I wanted to ask a question based on the goals tonight. CPAG is not district driven. When you place it as a goal, that becomes district driven. It is supposed to be a parent driven, a parent driven group. So I would advise that not happen, that you not add that to your goals. There are some other goals that I am going to re-listen to Miriam's presentation later tonight, because I have some very specific goals that I really think need to be included if you're discussing special education. I have spoken to Dr. Morton and Miss Mallory about this in the past, but I just personally experienced a lot of disorganization and just rudeness within my own son's exit from this district. And I really think that the goals need to reflect that we need to talk to, we need to train better. And I think that that is a really good goal. So I will send an email from me and my husband requesting that, but you really need to look at that goal. You really need to look at CPAG. I don't think you can make that a goal and make it district driven. Also, I wanted to thank Kim Gallagher for all of her time. She really had a lot of support for all the children and all the families in this district. And it's very sad for me to see her step down from the board. So thank you all and have a very good evening.
Thank you, Ms. Nadio, for your comment. Going back to the room, is there anyone in the room who would like to make second public comment? Please approach the microphone now. Name a municipality, and you have 3 minutes.
Rick Short, Cherry Hill. In reference to 19.2, the question still is how was it paid? There was a parking lot paved in the back of Kilmer. How was it paved, or how was it paid? Ms. Gallagher, thank you for your service. I don't want to spend all night talking about Ms. Gallagher. She's really amazing. Tonight I call for a formal investigation of the restorative justice program, Madam President. Remember, 17 kids were killed in Parkland due to restorative justice practices. Just recently in New York City, 4,200 more 911 calls came in. According to the work in Keene University in 2021, Linden High School is now the second most violent school in the state of New Jersey, with where it's being researched as. And they've been doing this for a few years now. Also, Madam President, you commented and said the education presentation made on 27th qualifies the district to implement restorative justice. You referred to the one board meeting as being good. Now, the problem I have with this entire program is it's being run under Mr. George Guy. And he ended one of his speeches and said, and we will see if this work made some kind of difference. And then he said, I guarantee it will. How can we have someone running the program who I think has observer bias, research bias, advocate researcher bias, partisan, and is really could possibly even be cherry picking things? I'm also concerned about the original start of restorative justice under Kwame Morton. According to Dr. Damon, there was 4,260 incidents at Cherry Hill West, the first year of restorative justice. I mean, this is amazing. It was crazy, crazy number. And then a couple years later, it went down to 2,000. Also concerned about the alleged numbers, which I studied. And I find, I mean, these are board record things. When you count the numbers were adjusted. Ladies and gentlemen, why are we implementing something that is tainted, is false, could even be a scam? It's truly amazing that this board doesn't look at fact, doesn't look at numbers, all these bad things happening. We need an investigation. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Going back to the line, I see the phone number ending in 788 has the hand raised again. Let's try it one more time. Please unmute and give us your name, municipality, and your comment.
Got it. Okay, great. You hear me? Ready?
We can, but I think you have a computer on in the background. Try one more.
Can you hear me?
Now we can hear you. Perfect, Dr. Podowitz. Thank you.
Okay, great. My name is Jeff Podowitz. I live in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. First, the state really doesn't care when it comes to funding, does not care about students with disabilities in Cherry Hill, preschool students or any students with disabilities. Go to NJ Spotlight News, Google search Lynn Strickland, and I've been talking about this for close to 10 years. You'll find my name, Jeff, as a comment. Funding for preschool with disabilities. In summary, for preschool students with disabilities, the school district receives the elementary base aid amount, which includes costs for students who are considered at risk, LEP, and are receiving special education services, according to the district state share in the form of equalization aid. Right. Well, guess what? In 2027, in 2026 to 2027, we are losing all of our equalization aid. We're getting none. For those of you who don't understand that, our rate is going to go down from a high of about where it should be, about 38 million. It's going down to 18 in 2026 and 2027. Meanwhile, for the year 2024, 2025, we received about 6.1 million in state expansion aid, defined as an expansion aid in 2025, 2026, with a number over of double the amount of students. We're getting about $6.9 million, and it's over 2%. But of course, hey, the state doesn't give a cent for preschool students. They're talking about equalization aid. It's gone for Cherry Hill. We're being underfunded, period. The kids with disabilities are being underfunded in preschool by the state, and they're being underfunded in regular aid. At $18 million for all the kids we have, forget it. And by the way, expansion aid is going to stop in about 3 years, and then they'll be funded like this for everyone. Right now, we're getting 18 million. All right. The state likes to claim that preschool itself is an intervention for kids with disabilities. No. Students with learning problems, yes. But there's a difference. If your kid has a disability, you understand it. Usually it's diagnosed by speech therapist or by a physician, neuropsychologist. It's a neurological disorder. That's the disability. All right. Could be muscular, it could be something else, but that's what an IEP is. And preschool ain't going to help it. It's not going to help at all. Also, let's get something straight. It's a disability. The state likes to use the word learning differences or learn differently. All right?
Thank you, Dr. Podowitz.
It's not. Okay, bye.
Thank you. Thank you for your comment. Your 3 minutes are up. Going back to the room, is there anyone else who would like to speak? Please approach the microphone. Give us your name and municipality.
Andy McElvain, Cherry Hill. Responding to a lot of the things that Mr. Short has said, on numerous occasions, Mr. Short has challenged me to step up to the mic and help him expose all of the failures of the school district, which he repeats and repeats and repeats. I'm here to do exactly the opposite. I've engaged Mr. Short on his Facebook page many times, fact-checking his extensive litany of greatest hits. Over the years, he has charged the administration of the board with every offense from simple ineptitude to criminal malfeasance, hiring numerous communist, anti-American cultural consultants to teach abolitionist oppression and oppressors, meanwhile ignoring the 3 R's and wasting massive amounts of hard-earned residents' taxes in the pursuit of educational fame. He was labeled the superintendent as a grifter, scammer, and liar, and has painted the board as enablers of academic failures, called for their removal, and predicted the imminent catastrophic collapse of public education in New Jersey. The list of policies and action he hates is virtually endless, including DEI, SEL, restorative justice, which he spoke on this evening, and African American history, among many others. If you listen to Mr. Short, you will realize that he is very good at getting attention and predicting the imminent failure of public education. He promises expose after expose, then delivers repetitive rhetoric from his list of grievances and made-up facts in his politically motivated Facebook posts and his rambling speeches before the board. He is quick to offer unwarranted conclusions that fit his narrative of failure, to mock and condemn, or slow to deliver realistic solutions to problems and insights. Cherry Hill, 1979 schools. My oldest daughter started in 1984, and for 19 years, I was a parent through all 3 levels in the district. There is a lot of work needed to improve our schools. The noise Mr. Short generates with his posts and public comments make this job much harder. I encourage the people of Cherry Hill to listen to Mr. Short and to evaluate him. If you do, I believe you will discover that there is only one grifter, one scammer, one fame seeker, one primary source of misinformation in this room, and he is not sitting at the table in front of me. He's behind me. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Going back to the line, the next caller, it says Laura Ann's iPad. It's your turn. You can unmute and give us your name and municipality.
Ann Einhorn, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. By the way, part of Mr. McElvain's speech could not be heard. Anyway, so I would like to speak about Kim Gallagher. First of all, I was very impressed that we became a certified board member, which showed me your commitment to being a good board member and an even better board member. I applaud you for your courage in a very vicious board meeting at April of a couple of years ago, where your frustration showed, and I know that it took a lot of courage to stand there and defend your own position as a board member. It's been apparent to me as an audience member that you read your BOE packets of information, and with your thoughtful and probing questions, it showed me how much that you cared about the students of Cherry Hill. And I also thank you for supporting all the members of the community of Cherry Hill, even a senior citizen like myself. You've been a breath of fresh air to me as a board member with your thoughtful decision-making and your real commitment to our community. I wish you well in your new endeavors. I will certainly miss you, particularly for your independent thinking and your questions to gather information. And I'm sure that your family and children will be glad to have you home more. I have enjoyed sitting next to your daughter at some of the committee meetings. She's an absolute delight. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Is there anyone else in the room who would like to make second public comment tonight? Please approach the microphone. Name and municipality, please.
Colin Duckett, Cherry Hill. I just wanted to come up and firstly commend you all. I can remember from my tenure as board representative from 23 to 24, Tasha, my alternate representative, and I, we worked very hard to expand the engagement of students with the board, and as well as find new avenues for students to inform themselves of the actions being taken by the district, the superintendency, as well as the board, as well as ways that they can get involved. We saw at the end of last year, we saw the 30 ROTC students who came here to talk about their program and advocate for that. So I want to commend you all, and I look forward to seeing where that goes, especially with the board representatives. You all know that this is very much a learn on the job experience, and you don't have the resources and the training yet that the voting members do. But it's a really great thing, and I'm looking forward to that and seeing how the students at in the schools, and not just the student reps, can get involved. Finally, Kim, I want to thank you so much for your commitment to this town. I know, coming on as onto the board in 23, you were such a friendly face and such an inspiration to not just me, but I know other students in your commitment to Cherry Hill, as well as your being so strong in your beliefs and fighting for what you believe. So thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Looking back online, there's nobody with a hand raised. Going back to the room, is there anyone else who would like to approach the microphone tonight to make a comment? Going once, going twice. Seeing no one at the microphone, seeing no one left online, I'm going to close second public comment and move to superintendent comments.
Thank you very much, Ms. Winters. I'd like to take an opportunity to wish our best wishes, Ms. Gallagher, as well. I've always respected an individual who's a straight shooter, who speaks with honesty, and an individual who's willing to stand by their decisions. And you are exactly that. Respect that tremendously. Thank you for your contribution and for your time and for your investment in this community and your work with the board. So I'm sure you'll continue to do great things as you move forward. There was a comment about CPAG. So CPAG was not mentioned as a goal. I think there was a clarification between Dr. Dreisen and Ms. Stern. The mention was CPAG as a strategy and ways to enhance CPAG. So it wasn't being suggested that the district was going to lead that, but we were advocating for the growth of CPAG. I would be remiss if I did not commend Dr. Mahan and the wonderful preschool staff for what was yesterday. If there are any questions about the viability, the need for, the interest in preschool programming here in Cherry Hill, if you had an opportunity to visit the preschool roundup, those questions were closed instantly. What a wonderful event, absolutely wonderful event. Kudos to everyone who was present and who made it happen. But thank you, Dr. Mahan. I want to definitely say that publicly. So we are just 21 days away from the start of the school year. 21 days away, just 3 weeks from the start of the school year. The first day is September 2nd. We are eagerly anticipating the return of our students. The summer at a certain point is beautiful and wonderful as it is, becomes somewhat quiet and weird as you walk through schools and walk through hallways, and you don't hear the laughter of kids as well. So we're definitely looking forward to the return of our students. With that, I'm going to give another plug for summer reading. If you have not yet completed your summer reading assignment, please understand you have 3 weeks in order to do so. If you have completed it, pick up another couple books. You have an opportunity over the next 21 days to complete your summer reading. Additionally, in the next few weeks, there are great orientation opportunities coming up. So keep your eyes and ears open at every level. There's orientation opportunities. We're definitely looking forward to that. Thank everyone for their comments, and thank you.
Thank you. And with that, I make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? Ms. Gallagher makes the second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. It's unanimous. The meeting is adjourned.